Welcome to the Great Broker Podcast. I'm your host, David Houck. In each episode, I talk with elite commercial real estate brokers about the deals, decisions, and lessons that define a great career in brokerage. Real brokers, real stories. Let's go. Today, recording from our Annapolis, Maryland studio overlooking the shores of the Chesapeake Bay. Got a great guest today, Lou Christopher, Executive Vice Chairman and Partner at Stream Realty. Lou's background, 37 years in the business, all of it in Washington, D.C. He's a native of Washington, D.C. If I went through all of his accolades and the number of times he's won the Deal of the Year in Washington, D.C., or been the Broker of the Year for GWCAR, or one of the top 25 brokers in the entire United States, we'd be here for an awful long time. He's won the Edward S. Gordon Award when he was at CBRE. His client base, he does Fortune 500 corporate headquarters deals, works with people like Nestle and Host Hotels. And then when it comes to law firms, it's a star-studded list. It's not just AmLaw 200. It's like AmLaw 20 when you look at all the law firms that he's worked with over his career. Lou, thanks for coming on.
That was a lot, David. Wow.
Lou, I do my research. Okay, so Lou, first of all, I know you don't do this alone. Tell me about your team.
That's a great question. My team is an awesome team. They're why I'm still working. Great group of people, diverse group of people. I've been lucky enough to be partners with Jordan Brainerd for 17 years. We were together first at Cushman and Wakefield, and then maybe a year after that, we left and had 15 years together at CBRE, and we came together to Stream Realty Services. About 5 years ago, we hired, maybe 6 years ago now, we hired a great young guy, also a Washingtonian, Asher Inman. Asher was an intern for us. We were looking to add someone. He had gone to tech sales in Boston. We interviewed a bunch of people. We were like, no one comes close to Asher. We called him up in Boston and said, come back and work with us. So he's been a great team member. And then the fourth is Daniel Bonilla, and he basically runs the operations for the team, whatever that means. He does it from, quick decks to financials to anything we need. So it's actually a small team. I think one thing maybe that is a different approach that I've always had is I really believe that the services in the offices, they're our teammates too. So the head financial analysts, the top construction folks, incentives people, workplace people, whatever the sort of skill set that our client needs. And as a result, we really view all those people as our partners in the office.
And so, in any given year, according to my research, you're doing 50 or 100 deals a year. Who's doing what?
Yeah, actually, my business changed at one point. Before it was a cool thing to do, I was doing multi-market, and those weren't household names at all, but they were companies with sort of 25 to 100 offices, and I think I had 5 or 6 of them. And at one point, actually, I think I remember we did 150 deals at Cushman in one year. But those were smaller deals, and the field brokers are doing lots of the work. I would say as a team, if we're doing 50 deals, we're all focused on probably the largest 15 or 20, and we're all working on those. And then Jordan and I might be working on another 10. Asher and Jordan might be sort of the leads on another 10. It just depends. But in general, we work. It's not a financial partnership; it's a true partnership, and so we're all working on the majority of the business together.
So 37 years. How'd you get started in this business? Did you know this was your calling?
I feel bad for our kids. I was a college senior, and I was way ahead of the game because I started to think about it, around probably Christmas time of senior year. These poor kids now have to decide their internship junior year and whatever.
Mhm.
And I mainly spoke to commercial banks and real estate people. And so many of the real estate people were so fascinating. They were unhinged, they were fun, they were smart, they were challenging, and the bankers were bankers. So it was pretty easy for me to say I wanted to get into that, and obviously really glad I did.
So you're a kid at Denison College, your senior year. You wait till the very last minute. How are you reaching out to commercial real estate folks? How did you know who to call or, you know, commercial? Were you talking to developers or brokers or contractors? And how'd you get to know them?
I think, like most people do it now, my father was a lawyer. He connected with me some people both at banks and real estate through fraternity brothers. For example, a friend of mine, still a good friend's father ran leasing at one of the biggest landlords in New York, still one of the biggest landlords. And he connected me with Grubb and Ellis then and Cushman in New York. And I interviewed there. And then most of the banking stuff was through Denison University. Don't take the university away from
Sorry
Denison.
about that.
And I was lucky enough, I got an offer in New York from Cushman and Wakefield, and I got an offer from Kerry Winston in DC. You remember, a huge
Hmm.
local firm, great
Hmm.
firm. And I decided I didn't want to cold call for 3 years in New York and then leave all my contacts. And I knew as a Washingtonian, I wanted to come back home at some point. I
Hmm.
wish I could have had 3 years in New York, at 22
Hmm.
years old, but I didn't. And I came to DC, and Kerry Winston was a great culture and super nice group of people, and still many great guys I call friends.
So, who hired you at Kerry Winston back in the day?
My immediate boss was Mark Minnick, who might have been all
Huh?
of maybe 32 years old then, but really it was Brendan McCarthy. And really, I talk about, I'm sure you asked the question about mentors, and Brendan was certainly my first mentor. He's just a fabulous guy, and he was super encouraging. And I was lucky because the office at the time was mainly 25 to 35-year-olds, and I was the young one, but they put me on stuff. And one of the best things that happened to me was one of the landlord brokers put me on a building, and we had to meet with the landlord every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. And we had to show them 50 people we talked to, not just 50 calls, but actually talked to. Back then, you would do it on a handwritten in a sort of graph form, Excel form on paper. And that was great because I developed a very good database from all those calls. So, really good learning experience. It seemed like all the guys, and I say guys because it really was all guys back then, were
Hmm.
willing to help and help me grow and let me come on tours and then help me with proposals. I actually spent 6 months in research. I had a salary for all of 6 months,
Mm.
big salary, I might add, really big in
Do you remember what it
1980.
was?
Sure, it was $18,000 divided by 2 for 6 months, so $9,000. And
Okay.
then I went on commission, and yeah, I learned how to, get a credit card balance that I could pay off when I made a fee, as you remember, David.
I
Yeah.
do. So you got some experience in research and you also did some agency leasing. When did you start going down the tenant rep track?
I think really from the beginning, I basically have been a tenant rep only, since 2000, so what's that, 26 years now out of
Mhm.
37?
Mhm.
I sort of, the business changed. In the beginning, you could do both. Then conflict came up and people were picking sides. For a while, I kept doing buildings only leased to the government because that wasn't a conflict. I could point to a law firm and say, hey, I have two buildings. They're both leased to agencies. That's not a conflict.
Mhm.
And then you had government specialists, and all of a sudden you couldn't lease the government buildings unless you were a government specialist. So I would say I always liked the tenant side more. I felt like your views were more respected, more trusted. Back in the day, I think a lot of the landlord stuff brokers were a commodity, and they could get another one if you weren't the one. So certainly, I always liked the tenant side much more, but I've done it pretty much exclusively for 22 years.
So then you leave, Kerry Winston,
Yes.
and, is that when you went to Cushman Realty?
I did. So I met John Cushman, and he convinced me pretty easily, probably, to opened the DC office. They had 8 offices. I was the ninth managing director, I think at 32 years old or 31 years old, something like
Mhm.
that. And we put together a small group. Maybe there was about 8 or 9 of us. And 3 years later, Cushman and Wakefield purchased Cushman Realty Corporation.
Mhm.
But that experience and that opportunity was really one of my favorites of my career. And it definitely influenced our decision to go to Stream. It
Hmm.
was a small, fun culture, very much a SWAT team when there were opportunities. And it's really was people first and broker first. It was a broker culture.
Hmm.
John Cushman was my second mentor. So I've had two mentors, Brendan McCarthy first and John Cushman second.
What did you learn from the legendary John Cushman?
Wow. I learned a lot. I learned the importance of having fun, working hard, challenging yourself, never setting the goal line to what you think is successful to make sure you could exceed even your greatest dreams in terms of production and clients. I learned to persevere. I certainly learned even to laugh harder. I learned that not everyone's honest at golf.
Okay.
I don't know. John was just great to me, honestly. We went from a small, really cool firm, and obviously you were at Stallback, which was, I think, similar in many ways. We all thought we were the best by far, and there was no second place firm. And I think Stallback felt that also. But then we went to the big firms, and my career shifted greatly to the billion-dollar corporations,
Hmm.
which, as you know, and why Stallback and John sold was the business changed, right? We went from local to national, and then we went to national to international. And
Hmm.
a lot of the account business and the bigger tenants that we were going after, you had to have that international offering, or
Hmm.
certainly a very strong national platform to succeed.
So you've been at Kerry Winston and then Cushman Realty back in the day, then the experience with the two big publicly traded firms, Cushman and CB. Tell me about Stream.
Yeah, so Stream is cool. Like I got to the point, and we're about the same age, where it was like, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep pushing so hard? What do I like? What's the best way for our team to do it? What's the best thing for our clients? And I went back 20 years to those Cushman Realty days. And with Stream, it was funny. It was a group in Washington, and I've always tried to help and mentor and be friends with younger brokers. I got to a point where I was like, do I want to keep doing this? And we weren't having fun, and we were spending a lot of time on internal protocols at both places that shareholders demand and reporting, et cetera. And that doesn't help our clients in any way. And so what attracted me to Stream was when I was talking to those younger brokers, I kept hearing Stream's name come up. Well, they're small group, they're young, but they really have. It's an amazing culture. Everyone supports each other. It's open book. They share everything. One of the younger brokers from Cushman went there. He's like, Lou, you wouldn't believe this place. It's so great. Everyone's helping
Hmm.
me. And I just sort of kept my eye on it, and they kept getting better and better on the landlord side, but they didn't have a tenant offering.
Hmm.
And then two very senior and older than us brokers from Cushman and CB that are leaders in their markets went there. And they're old friends. And I spoke to them about it and what was exciting about it, and brought in Jordan, and we talked about what we wanted to do. And she's a very engaged mother of
Hmm.
two young boys, and she's very focused when she's in the office. And we wanted a place that was all about what we like to do in the office. And so what that meant was what we hope to do, and what we hope it is a place where we could recruit people, a diverse group that are self starters, love the business themselves, are ethical, respect each other, respect us, and we could have some fun and celebrate the fun. So I'm pumped because I think it's one last run. I think the
Hmm.
change has always been good in my career. I get complacent a little bit and kicks you a little bit in the tush, and you get moving and you get back to the phones, you get back to BD, and you get back to being competitive and wanting it to be successful. And so, honestly, we're fired up. The company's been amazing. We have our first national meeting with them in Dallas in 2 days. So, we're all heading down there, and I'm looking forward to meeting more folks, but I've met a lot of the leaders already.
So you have your Fortune 500 clients, these biggest law firms in the world. You call them and say, "Hey, I just left this intergalactic largest firm in the whole wide world, and I'm going to a company called Stream."
All right.
What do they think?
It's interesting. I would say a lot of them get it. A lot of them were at similar corporations or similar places
Mhm.
and they get it. So that's the first thing. Most people say, I get it. In terms of their business, I think, yeah, we made a bet that our resumes can beat the brand, at least till we build the brand locally.
Mhm.
That clients want people and people first, and clients want to work with the best people. They're
Mhm.
hiring a broker. They're not necessarily just hiring the brokerage name. That is something I think as we grow and recruit in the
Mhm.
DC region, and we have lots of people with good brands, as I believe Jordan, Asher, and I do, that will make it easier for us. It's definitely an interesting new sales pitch. And I think one thing that's
Mhm.
different about Stream that people get also is it's the only private firm. Think about it. Every firm you can think of, from Colliers, Newmark, Cushman, CB, they're all
Mhm.
new. They're all public. So our offering is different, and I think there's a number of advantages. And you know the advantages from
Mhm.
your Stahlbach days
Mhm.
of being private versus being a public firm.
So let's talk about law firms. That's a really important part of your business, and you're Mr. Law Firm. What do these AmLaw 100 firms, what do they want from a broker nowadays?
I think they want a trusted, ethical, honest, fierce advocate that can do a comprehensive job and mitigate risks for them, as well as drive leverage in all aspects of the procurement. And so that means someone or a team that can report to the executive committee, to the management committee, to the chairman of the firm, that can build a business case for them and can act as professionally as they act with their biggest clients. There has been, there's a great separation from the AmLaw 25 or AmLaw 40, 50, and the
Mhm.
rest of,
Mhm.
and a lot of them are trying to figure out how to keep up with the Kirkland analysis, which I think was a $8 or $9 billion business last year.
Mhm.
So real estate has played more and more into that, and aligning the real estate and their footprint and trying to enhance their brand and their culture through the right workplace, through the right building, and more importantly in DC, the right location has become very important. So I think they want a lot. It is, headquarters have become our fastball. So I think it's something that, we love. And that we weren't, you talked about the difference between Stream and these big international firms. We're not trying to do 50 deals for law firms across the world. That's
Mhm.
not our bread and butter. That's not what we do well. We do well Washington, D.C., inside the Beltway. And so that's going to continue to be our focus.
Do law firms expect uh, different services today than they did 20, 30 years ago?
I don't think 20, 30 years ago, I had a lot of two or 300,000 foot law firms, but let's start with that.
Wouldn't that
I
be
think
nice?
I think Lois did and Tony Gould and some of the old DC names you remember, but it
Uh-huh.
wasn't me. Um, our business has changed tremendously. It's changed because it's become more of an advisory business. It's become more of a consultative business. Everyone's got the resources and platform resources. By the way, Stream has all the same platform resources.
Mhm.
You talked about incentives before we went live.
Yeah.
Logistics, workplace, all those services. I think they want an advisory offering. They want a consultative offering. They realize it's not just about
Mhm.
economics. Workplace has played, obviously, in the pandemic, was a huge talking point. I would tell you that I think that it's changed in the last year or two, that workplace is now second to labor. Everyone's
Mhm.
trying to figure out where it should be.
Mhm.
What's the right location? Forget about the CBD and East End. What's the neighborhood where they should be? What's the most vibrant place that their people want to come to work?
Mhm.
And so I think those services change, but certainly it's gotten to be a very complex business. And obviously the other thing that's changed is technology. I mean, you cold called and I cold called in the beginning from a book, right?
Mhm.
And we flipped pages in a book and we took notes and we had note cards. And then we thought we were the coolest kids and we had a database of people. It's each technology changed. Then we got phones. We didn't even have phones. I remember thinking, what was voicemail? I never used voicemail. And then we went to emails and now we're talking AI and how that can drive efficiency. All that efficiency raised all boats in the brokerage business.
Hmm.
Everyone made more money. Everyone had more clients because it was easy to be much more productive.
Hmm.
Very simple. I think AI will continue to do that. But you still need to be a creative thinker. You still need to have strategy. I think one thing that just like people thought in the beginning, CoStar might be the end of the brokers. I think some of the big firms think that AI is going to be the end of the brokers. I completely disagree. I don't think anyone's hiring a broker to do $100 to $500 million lease or bigger in New York and other places, unless they're a creative thinker, unless they understand strategy. AI is not going to replace that.
Hmm. How are you and the folks on your team using AI to help your clients or to help prospect for business or just to keep the trains running?
We're definitely, like everyone, trying and we're learning. And I would say at this point in time, we're probably not using it to, I don't know, 5 or 10% of the capacity. The younger folks on the team, and that means everyone but me, um, probably use it more. But, simply preparing for pitches, understanding the prospects better, understanding the people that we're pitching better, understanding everything there is about the company. I don't like one thing I've already noticed is even with my untrained eye on this, it's pretty easy to see when someone's written you a letter or a memo through AI. You
Mhm,
can see, you'll find one silly error that I think a person wouldn't make, and if the people didn't catch it.
mhm.
And so we need to be careful about that. We don't want to commoditize our brand. Our brand is not about taking shortcuts, it's about doing the work. So we want to use it to make us more effective, but we don't want it to replace the attention to detail that we put into the process or into our clients.
Okay, you're responsible for a couple of build-to-suits in DC, maybe the only couple of buildings that are office buildings that are going up right now because of deals that you've done. So you're gonna have another one sooner or later, I'm sure.
I
Big
hope.
tenant and, new construction is probably gonna be, one of the primary solutions, for them. If I owned a site in Washington, DC, a really good site, okay, and I wanted, and your one of your clients was looking at my building, and I'm gonna be negotiating against Lou Christopher. What do I need to know? Okay? Give me some tendencies. What do I need to look out for?
You really do have a good radio voice, by the way. You really do.
Yeah. It's this microphone I've got this do you see this thing? This
I-
I'm a real podcaster, Lou.
we're extremely proud of the two deals that we did. We've done the only two new construction deals that are fully signed in DC since I believe Wilmer Halesdale, which was signed in like 2017. That's non-spec construction. In both cases, we had two incredible law firm clients
Mhm,
that are both top 25 AM law, the best
mhm,
of the best
mhm.
globally.
Yep.
And they both wanted a world-class site that matched the one Vanderbilt or whatever, the best in Houston, London, those buildings.
Yep.
And they wanted a place to incentivize, reward their people to be in the office and to continue doing a great job of what they do. And doesn't exist in Washington, D.C. 66% of our inventory was built before I got in the business
Mhm,
in 1988. We, in the beginning, buildings had 8'2" ceiling heights,
mhm,
20 by 20 column spacing, maybe two good sides because of our height restrictions.
mhm,
And so it's a very challenging market for the highest quality real estate. And both firms wanted what they wanted. And so we showed them the market. Nothing was acceptable, and they wanted world class real estate. To do that, man, I learned a lot. Honestly, they were both incredibly fun to do because at our age, you want to learn, you want to get better. You want to keep thinking. You want to be challenged. You want to ask your friends that are lenders and
Mhm.
mortgage, debt and equity brokers and capital market brokers. I don't understand this. Explain this to me. What about if you did it this way? Can you do it this? What are the
Yeah.
problems?
Mhm.
The other way we really pulled this deal off, or both deals, was through our relationships. 37 years, you said in the beginning of this,
Mhm.
37 years of
Mhm.
relationships in Washington, D.C. We know everyone, we can text everyone, we got everyone's numbers, and we basically just hustled. And what we figured out, Jordan and I, and Asher on these ones, probably more watching, but watching with enthusiasm,
Mhm.
was that you had to get to the lenders, that the lenders controlled the sites. There were no sites that were viable. And there were two sites. Both deals happened at sites that were being foreclosed upon. The lenders thought that the answer to that was to do a deal with a residential developer because resi people will pay more.
Mhm.
Well, you do the math and resi people will not pay more. And it's not a no brainer. And in both cases, those lenders had been retraded or the deals had fallen apart with resi people. And all of a sudden we said to them, hey, we're going to hire a developer. We're going to go and the developer will close. Our client, and we named our client, will sign a lease in 90 days, a very fast time frame, but we had ways to deal with that. And this is surety. Do the deal with them. And the developer in both cases was Boston Properties. We
Mhm.
bought Boston Properties in. These weren't spec sites that Boston Properties came to us and brushed off plans. We brought in Boston Properties because they're incredibly professional, they're ethical, they could do it without debt, and they have a great track record in Washington of the very best of best buildings. And we liked them. And so they performed and they have much better relationships with those lenders, but we did speak to the lenders and they made it happen. And we sat down and did a lease. And after we had one lease, we had a pretty good form for the next lease. It was round the clock type stuff, or certainly around
Mhm.
week. And I don't really, there's no difference between Saturday and Sunday on those time periods than Monday or Tuesday. And I think when done, they're going to be the two nicest buildings in Washington. They're incredible buildings.
Mhm.
And they're what now people want: 16-foot penthouse ceiling heights, 10-foot finished floor to ceiling heights on the top, outdoor terraces and green spaces for their people to collaborate. Just incredible buildings, world class architecture, and a great counterparty again in Boston Properties.
So, how do you think the Boston Properties folks or the lenders that you met for the first time, how do you think they would describe your negotiating style?
I mean, you should ask Jake and Pete, but I think I'm pretty, pretty straightforward. And I think I tell them how it is or what we need. I mean, the math is the math on the build to suit. So
Mhm.
you come up with that. Let me say that there's one deal right now that's under contract and it's $35 a foot more than the deals we negotiated 9 months and 20 months ago. Like, that's incredible. That's how fast it's going. So now the economics even look incredible. One of them said we won deal of the year. They always knew where they stood with me. I was transparent. Like, I'm a straight shooter. I tell it how I see it.
Uh, that's fair. What is your advice for law firms right now that, that are either, have big expansion, plans or merger plans or their leases expiring in a few years? What are you telling them?
Be careful. It's a market without options. There's big deals sort of 2030 to 2033. I think there's 3 million some of demand that we track and a million one of trophy space, of the best space. If renewal's really not an option, then you better work hard. You better hire someone who knows what they're doing and has done it before. You're going to see more and more renewals. And you
Mhm.
you have to start early because maybe the building is works for them if it's renovated. That takes time. Maybe it's a renewal and economics drive it because there's no good options. Why not reset the rent 5 years early? Certainly, I think time is their advantage and they should start as early as possible to consider all. It doesn't mean they have to transact as early as possible, but they've got to start as early as possible.
Let's talk about some advice for young brokers or mid-level brokers out there. What 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 kind of advice do you have for somebody who years from now wants to be the next Lou Christopher?
Get a good wife.
Uh-huh.
Like, no, like seriously, I have an incredible wife and I've got an incredible family. And I think, I'm super proud of my kids. I probably talk to 3 or 4 young kids a week or every 2 weeks. I don't know. And I enjoy it. And I enjoyed as I got older, talking to the 42-year-old, just like at one point I enjoyed talking to the 32-year-old. And
Okay,
people
so
want to
what
know.
are you telling them? What are you telling them? Should they get into this business? Is now a good time? What do you tell these kids?
I don't think it's a good time to get into it out of college. Go learn a skill that's valuable. What would that be? A tech company? Go work for a tech company. Go be in sales at a tech company. Go to a Fortune 500 company, learn a proper training program. Go through that. Go to
Mhm.
law school. I think a law degree is very transferable and valuable to any brokerage team. Then I tell them it's going to take 10 years. And they say, no way. How could it take 10 years? You're a broker. Well, it
Mhm.
takes, as you remember, 7 to 10 years. You got to like the business. Like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you heard, you can make a lot of money and it's a flexible lifestyle? Are you doing it because you're passionate about people and real estate? Like, why are you doing it? Like, you have to have a passion for it. Do you have a passion for the people? Like, I still get such a kick out of the people, and I love those younger brokers. So, a lot of what you do, though, David, you're not mentoring just how to be successful. You're mentoring the difficult times in our business.
Mhm.
It's the biggest roller coaster business, certainly I know of. The ups and downs are severe. I did a big deal when I was 28, and I told my wife, please make me get out of the business after this is done. Don't let me continue. And of course, after 6 months or 3 months, I said, oh, I love the business. So, I try and be helpful. I try and tell them you're gonna have good years and bad. You have to give back yourself. You have to mentor the younger 20-year-olds if you're a 30-year-old. You got to get involved in the community every way you can. Don't be thought of as a great broker. Hopefully, I'm not thought of, even though I'm on the Great Broker podcast. Hopefully,
It's
I'm
like,
thought of as a respected business leader in Washington. And
mhm.
so be part of that community, give back to that community, find charities, not again that you're going to get business out of, but that you care about it. Be passionate about all aspects of it and find a charity or two that you really care about and that you want to help.
Why do you think some brokers just never make it to the elite level? In other words, why do some get stuck?
Team, the people they surround themselves with, patting themselves on the back when they've had a good year and not realizing that they've missed the business development part for the next 2 years after that. Maybe they don't have the smarts for it, or they haven't surrounded themselves with the people that are smart enough to offer sort of more of a consultative offering. Or honestly, I think they're just focused on money and it's just a way to make a buck rather than something that they really love.
I agree with that. Uh, so you've done deals all over the country, probably all over the world. If you weren't native Washingtonian, if
Yeah.
you weren't in Washington, D.C., what market would you want to work in?
I
You
think that
gotta move. You gotta move. You gotta go somewhere.
the two best markets in the United States, in my opinion, right now are Dallas and Miami. Right now, those would be two great markets and great opportunities for brokers that are in their 30s that are looking to change a location. The market for me that I wish if I could go back and if I wanted to do it as a challenge is New York, of course. They do million deals or bigger, like, and it's the toughest competition. We've never shied away from whatever that is and would love to have competed with a lot of my friends in New York because I love competing and we would have lost some, but I promise you we would have won some too. So I would say New York.
So when you started Do you remember your very first deal? Your very first
Um,
commission check?
yeah, the commission check thing, no, but the deal, 100%. The Answer Temps, 888 16th Street, I believe 787 square feet. That was my first voucher, first deal slip I was on. And by the way, I was super proud of it. Like, I thought it was, man, I was going to crush it. I mean, I thought it was so cool.
If you could go back in time and talk to 25-year-old Lou, what would you say to him when he's got
Like
that
that,
deal in hand?
like that country song, right?
Yeah.
It ain't going to be easy, buddy, but you're going to make it. Just stick with it. Persevere. You're going to have some tough days and you're going to have some huge celebrations.
You mentioned, giving back. I know you've been involved with Children's Hospital for a while, Catholic Charities. Are those your go-to organizations that you support?
I think I was on the Children's Hospital Foundation board for 22 years, probably 5 to 7 years with Catholic Charities. Stacy and I ran the gala, which is probably a 1,200 person event one year. So that was a big undertaking. Children's was amazing. I'll talk about children's. We went down there. Our eldest, Riley, was 3 or 4, and she had inguinal hernia surgery. Stacy and I are crying like little babies out in the hallway, and we look around and I see 8 kids with much bigger problems and families with bigger problems. And then the surgeon was a guy named Kurt Newman. He became the head of surgery. He's one of the best salespeople you ever come across. He's also a very good friend. He recruited me. I loved doing it, loved raising money, loved presenting with Kurt, loved the cause. So that always made it easy. Just when I was going to quit, Kurt became the CEO of Children's Hospital. So he said, "You're not quitting yet, buddy." I think that had another 10 years of it. One thing I've enjoyed right now, I'm doing it for Gonzaga College High School, where my son went, which is a place we really love.
Mhm.
And I did it at Children's, was I'm on the real estate committee.
Mhm.
And these organizations have a lot of real estate, a lot more than
Mhm.
people think.
Yep.
And to be a subject matter expert and to sit in a boardroom where you add value, and I think it's fun
Mhm.
and I enjoy it. I feel like I don't want to I don't want to get on a committee where I can't add value. So doing that, we support Denison University, where both Stacy and I went. And obviously, everyone has to give back. You got however little, however big, find something you care about, give back. It will make you feel good as much as is helping that organization.
Okay, so what do you splurge on, Lou?
What I splurge on?
Yeah,
I love family trips. I splurge on family trips.
awesome. Give me a family trip that was a big hit.
We've had a bunch. Zermatt was
Mhm.
recently, holiday, Christmas, New Year's skiing,
Mhm.
incredible. Galapagos, incredible. Africa, incredible. Lots of very cool memories for our family together.
Mhm.
Got to show the kids, that US is actually not that big of a place compared to the rest of the world, and we always have fun together. Again, we got 3 great kids. We got a great son-in-law now, and, we actually have our first grandchild. So, the group is growing, but we're still doing it.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so what's a day in the life of Lou Christopher? Are you a morning person or are you a night owl?
If you work, you kind of have to be a morning person, don't you? But I'm definitely much more of a night person, without a
Okay.
question.
So coffee or cocktails?
Both. Are you kidding?
Both? Okay.
Like, definitely coffee,
Uh-huh.
and try and do the harder work in the morning. Often we'll stay home if it's a document or reading or total focus work. Try to work out, I wouldn't say every day, but 5 days a week. So that comes in it to play. Usually I got to do that in the morning or I don't do it.
Yeah, what are your
Um,
other hobbies, besides skiing? Are you a golfer?
I was never a golfer until the pandemic. I mean, I was. I'd play 10 or 15 rounds a year. Since the pandemic, since becoming empty nester, I play a ton of golf and I love golf. I love boating. I'm a boater, not a sailor like you. I'm not, tying those knots and doing all
Hmm.
that, but I'm a boater. I grew up sailing some. And again, traveling, love walking on a beach, love any game that's competitive pretty much. So if it's a card game or backgammon or something like that, I'll play. I might not be good, but I'll try and win.
Excellent. When you close a big deal,
Yeah.
where do you take them?
You know what's so funny? Leasing brokers don't do that whole like trophy, lucite thing that the capital market guys do. I mean, it depends on the client.
If I wanted, are you a power luncher? Where on K Street do I find Lou Christopher dining?
Yes, lunch is probably the biggest meal that I schedule and dinner. I don't know. I mean, I go to all the places. When I've always enjoyed the Four Seasons in Georgetown, mainly because you don't see a lot of brokers there, and I don't want to run into
Hmm.
8 different brokers from 8 different firms. DC has a lot of restaurants. Honestly, I go a lot of times where Jordan tells me she knows what's the hot place and the better place, and I'm not very good at that.
All right, so crystal ball time.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in the DC market, the one you know best, 5 years from now? What's it going to be like?
I mean, look, DC has a lot of problems, right? And it actually feels good right now. It feels the best it's felt since I'd say the pandemic. We had two demand engines. We had the federal government and law firms. And when one was down, the other carried the ball. And the federal government carried the ball big time. The federal government, not only did they shrink in a big way, they're inactive and they really were focused at a price point that led them to really the B and C markets, and obviously, lots of agencies have left the area.
Hmm.
So that has gone away. And then the law firms are 100% leading that takedown of trophy spaces, but most firms have shrunk by 10 to 30%. And one of the best deals we're proudest of was moving Wiley from 330,000 feet, of which they had sublet over 100,000 feet, to the most beautiful 170,000 feet where they're totally efficient and have a much better sort of collaborative culture. So law firms, everyone can't rely just on law firms. What DC's missing is finance, right? We have no finance. Finance is driving all those
Hmm.
other markets. We obviously aren't like in a situation like
Hmm.
Dallas where there's tax advantages to being there. So I think DC has serious challenges. With that said, they're not moving the Capitol or the White House. We are the seat of power. Law firms certainly will be there and their footprints will grow, I believe. Government relations firms, when me and you started, those were 2 to 4,000 foot deals. Now, plenty of them are 20 to 30,000 foot deals.
Hmm.
So those are growing. We could use more finance. We could use more tech. The biggest problem is the supply side. I would say at least a third of the buildings need to be demolished, and probably a lot of them need to be green space, or that's not realistic. We need more hotels. We need more people in downtown Washington. Look at the most vibrant neighborhoods, right? Like where GW is, they call it Penn West now,
Hmm.
right? You got GW students, you have hotels, you have trophy office, you see, residential. People are walking around at night. There's city centers like that. DuPont Circle's become like that, sort of more south down to M Street. Uh, but a lot of it turns off at 6 o'clock at night. And that's my worry. So the supply challenges on DC are, how do we take some of that product out? And it
Hmm.
may become like downtown LA. I remember 10 years ago, we just have zombie buildings because they're not going to lease up.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that's a crystal ball, but I think it's going to be a market with challenges, but it's going to survive. And certainly, I think law firms will continue to carry it.
Okay, crystal ball. I don't know how many commercial real estate brokers there are in the DC market right now, but 5 or 10 years from now, more of them or fewer of them?
So every AI person would want me to say fewer of them, about the same, maybe 10% less, but not a huge change. I mean, I don't think there'll be a huge change. I don't.
All right, Lou, you have been an amazing guest. I think we have some good material. I want to thank you for appearing on this show. Join us next time on the Great Broker Podcast.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for listening to the Great Broker Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, follow the show and share it with someone who wants to become a great broker. See you next time.